Welcome to Momtroversial, the podcast that dives headfirst into the beautiful chaos of motherhood and dishes on the stuff we wish we would have known and nobody tells you. This is your tribe for informed consent and unfiltered real talk. I'm Leeah, a scrunchy nurse riding the Hot Mess Express, and I'm your girl's girl, here to remind you that it's fine, we're fine, and everything's fine.
I'm Alyssa, crunchy mom, all about organic living. I'm organized, opinionated, and your designated wingwoman in any parenting bar fight.
And I'm Tori, your ride or die chaos coordinator who will hold your secrets and your baby.
And today we are going to jump right in and get Momtroversial from the start because we have a lot to talk about. And let's be honest, we don't want to talk your ears off and have a 3-hour long episode because we're too new to do that. So we just talked about Korea and the pros of Korea, but to be honest, with every pro, there's usually a con. So today we're going to talk about some of the cons of living here in South Korea, Oconus. And Oconus, for the military or non-military people who don't know, means living outside of the greater continental U.S. So an Oconus duty station is like Hawaii that's not attached directly to the U.S., or like Alaska that's not attached directly to the U.S., and then anywhere overseas. So any other country or province or territory that is not attached to the mainland USA. So let's just kick it off with a broad question. And we'll start with Alyssa, who has recently vacated the South Korea peninsula. What is one con that was really tough for you in South Korea?
The 100% far and away biggest con was the air quality. It just so affected our quality of life. I literally will never forgive Korea for their air quality. It's like everything else could have been like, not my favorite, but it's not a bad place. But like the air quality just so incredibly affected our quality of life when I didn't let the girls go outside to play, and we tried to even minimize just going outside at all, even to like go somewhere else if the air quality was above 100, which, if you're familiar with Korea, is like probably like 85% of the time. And that's incredibly hard to just live with and to be inside that long. Like, my girls, we want to go to the playground. We can't. And so my whole goal in this was to make sure that they didn't have any respiratory issues from the air quality. And even with all of that effort, Kennedy still came home with a environmentally induced asthma diagnosis. And so for anyone who's not familiar, air quality from 0 to 50 is considered green. It's considered good. That was about maybe 1% of the time, if we're being generous, in Korea. Then you've got 50 to 100, which is like, unhealthy for sensitive people. And then you've got 100 to 150, which is like, this is just really not good. This is unhealthy for everyone. And then 150 plus, which happen quite often. And that's just, stay inside. So to compare that to the US is pretty much always green. LA struggles there, I believe, a little bit, maybe New York. But when the train crashed in Ohio and everyone was worried about the chemicals and the air quality and that kind of thing, that's just a normal day in Korea. Like, happens all the time. So if that gives you any form of reference for what we're talking about when we say air quality
was with that train crash?
I think it hovered around 150.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so with the air quality, to piggyback off of that, just to give a visual for our listeners who have not been in Korea, because this was something I literally never in my life paid attention to.
Never.
Prior to moving to South Korea. I didn't even realize it was a standard of measurement when you were looking at your weather app. So when the air quality is good, it's just so funny. I didn't even realize it when we moved here. I just thought it was foggy all the time. Like, I was so ignorant. When the air quality is good, it means clear skies. It means like if you look out, you can see a mile down the road or half a mile down the road, and there's nothing in your like vision. But when the air quality is getting bad, it basically is mimicking foggy like conditions based on the higher the air quality it is, but it's not condensation. It's not moisture in the air. It is literally pollution. And in the spring, it's yellow dust season. So it's yellow dust or pollen that you have. And this is because of the amount of factories, because of burning their trash, and then because of the air pollution that comes from China, which is actually really close. And that's where North Korea borders China, and then it comes down. So a lot of that will come down here. So to give you a visual, it's really foggy when it's really high, and then it's a regular day, clear skies ish when it's in the green. Tori, what are your thoughts on the air quality, and how has that affected you and your family?
I mean, Alyssa pretty much said everything that I think about it. I mean, we are like an outside family. My kids are outside kids. And I feel like we've been really hindered here on the things, Korea has some beautiful mountains and hikes and beaches
Mhm.
and like really awesome nature things. And I feel like we just haven't been able to take advantage of it because, I don't want to completely blame it on the air quality. Like, oh, I couldn't ever go on a nice day,
Yeah.
But, you pretty much have to get used to living in the yellow. And that's
Hmm.
Yeah.
that like 50 to 100 range because I mean, yellow is the norm. Yellow is good. And so we've had
Down
to
here.
adjust our standards. Yeah. We've had to adjust our standards here. And my kids know like if it's orange or red, they're not allowed to play outside. And the Koreans have a different standard. Unless it's red or above, they are still playing outside. But they all wear masks and stuff like that. And I have my own thoughts and feelings based in science about masks. And I don't like my kids to wear them. And they're not going to wear them properly anyways. So it's like,
Hmm.
I don't know how much it's going to help them, even if they were to wear them. So I feel like, I'm
Yeah.
worried that we're going to have some like lingering health things. It sucks to look outside and see it's like this beautiful sunny day, but it's like 165 air quality. And you're just like, well, cool. I'm going to sit here with my windows open and just wish I was out there. It just like is I feel like January, February, March are like the worst months. And it's
Yeah.
already bad because it's
They're rough.
winter and like you want to get outside because it's winter and you're like, I just need to get out of my house. And I feel like it perpetuates illnesses. Our family gets really sick during that time of year, despite like the air purifiers we have in the house. And I have air purifying plants and I use diffusers. I mean, like I've maximized the air purification inside the house, but nothing beats fresh air. Nothing.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, I've had pneumonia, Charlie's had pneumonia, he's had RSV. And I know not all that stuff, comes from bad air quality, but I feel like sickness breeds indoors. That's why people get so sick in the winter months. They're like, oh, don't go outside, you're going to get sick. Like, no, it's because people aren't going outside that they're getting sick. And so
Mhm.
I just feel like we've had like this perpetuated illness since we've been here, and our quality of life has really suffered for it as well.
Yeah.
Mm, that's good. Yeah, I was gonna say that's a thing you see with Koreans here is because this is what they have grown up doing is they wear masks. So that's how they living here full time will like compensate. And I don't know enough about that when it comes to just the air quality, but I know enough about the kids that I can't get my kids to wear a mask and keep a mask on just to go outside, especially in the summer months when it's hot and you want to wear a mask. I remember when I was working in the hospital during COVID and I had to be in the OR for a long time wearing a mask and it was hot. I'm like,
Mhm.
that's not even the 90, 100 degree weather of the summertime here with bad air quality. There's no way you could eat like no.
Yeah.
And signs and symptoms of air quality, which I was just totally ignorant to. I was so ignorant, is runny nose, off,
Blissful.
blissfully ignorant until I realized I can't remember at what point it was that Travis informed me of my ignorance. And I was, oh, really? Wow. And then you can't unsee it.
Like some things
But
are
runny
starting to add up
nose,
over here.
I know it all makes sense why my kid's so irritated all the time and his nose is running and won't stop. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I am curious to see for us if there will be effects long term because I know KK was born here. And
Mhm.
so, when the environmental induced asthma, because her respiratory system has only ever been exposed to that. So, I'll be
Yeah.
curious for a full debrief after being in the States for a little while how she's doing. And then I'm curious because Ella was born here and so is Charlie. So all three of us
Yeah.
have had a baby born here to see if long term as they're growing, if they're gonna have effects from it and or if not, just depending on the
So
situation.
I can tell you when we came back here in the end of May for Tessa's wedding and then went back to Korea, we had previously been using her inhaler every single night so that she would be able to sleep and not have coughing fits. And we came back here for 10 days for my sister's wedding, and we have not used her inhaler since.
Mm.
And I think part of that is that we left while the air quality was still pretty sucky. And when we came back, it there were more good days. In the summer, there's more yellow days than bad days. I wouldn't call them good days, but there are a few green days in there, which is nice. But I think that helped a little, just coming back to not terrible, 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 just like the and
Mhm.
so since we've been
You
back
guys are
too
gonna
over the
believe
past few
me.
days. What? No
I was
way.
just gonna say it was green today. I was gonna say
47.
it was green today. But
It's
that's because
Yeah.
it's
47.
been
We're
raining.
bordering. We're bordering
Yeah.
on yellow, but we have a green day, which is just like so rare. So we had to.
I almost texted you today and I was like, wait a minute, she doesn't care anymore. She lives in America.
Listen, I care
She
for
doesn't
you,
care about
okay?
our air quality.
I just won't tell you mine whenever you tell me yours.
So we've been bad. I do have to say, I'm really curious to see. Because I didn't realize it, we've been bad and have done a lot of outside time, even with bad air quality. Now, not super extended time, just like walking the dogs, but we have still been outside. So I'm curious to see if that's going to affect D because now he's old enough that if I say we're staying inside or we're just going to go from point A to point B, he's okay with it. But when we first moved here, he was 18 months and I didn't know. So we spent
Yeah.
all summer outside regardless of the air quality. So I'm curious to see if there will be anything for him versus now we're a little bit more flexible, I guess would be a better word for it. So yeah, that's definitely air quality is a big Korea con that if
Yeah.
you're not ignorant like me, you can learn about before you come here. I just didn't know. But
Or like
Tori, what is a
seriously consider coming here.
oh, that's a good point.
Like
Yeah.
knowing, especially if you have a respiratory sensitive kid or whatever you want to call it, like I can tell
There's
you,
solves.
like God forbid Ryan ever get sent to Korea again, but like we would 100% do an unaccompanied tour if that was the case because I just could not in good conscience put KK back in that situation, which like we are not I called it when everyone was like Ryan's not going to do unaccompanied this past time. I was like, no, we don't make up deployments. Like we're going, but like we would not go again. So like even use that as a major consideration because when I was looking at it, I saw people like, oh, the air quality is bad, but there were so many people that said, no, it's really not a big deal. Now, I think it just
Uh-huh.
doesn't affect certain people as much and it affects adults less than kids. And so I got the air purifiers, but I just didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal until we got here and I realized that it was, in fact, a huge deal. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I
No,
couldn't agree
it's okay.
more. That's yeah.
Valid. So valid. What I was gonna say is I was gonna ask Tori what has been one major con for you that has you've had a tough time with.
I'm gonna have to say the drivers, and I don't
Oof.
want to talk about
I know.
stereotypes,
But
uh,
they're true.
but
That's what she's not saying.
I'm not gonna say it. But I will say that after living in Germany and driving with people in Germany, and then coming here and driving with people here, there's no common sense. I mean, it just like there is a piece missing. There's something missing from when a Korean oh my gosh, I feel bad saying this. Honestly, I do. And I feel bad even thinking it inside of my own head. But like I have witnessed hundreds, and I mean hundreds, or maybe even top like close to 1,000 at this point, like literally 1,000 instances of this. And I just can't ignore it. It's like you'll have someone standing in the middle of the road and you're like, hello, like I'm trying to drive in the middle of this road. And then, 30 seconds later, they turn around and they're like, oh my gosh, like they're just in their own like la la land. Or you'll have someone pull over in the middle of the road and just put their hazards on.
Yeah. They
Like
think that if you
hazards
put
are
your
on, it's
hazards
fine.
on, like it's all good.
It's fine.
It's crazy.
But
The
it
amount of
is not in
accidents,
sight.
It's absurd.
Literally, it's so crazy. Like I had this lady one time, I was getting like from where I live and probably the same for where Leeah lives. Like if you're going to Adamsgate and you have to turn off onto that other highway, there was a
Uh-huh.
lady who tried to pull over in the middle of that little off/on ramp right there and just put her hazards on. I laid my horn on
Oh,
because I thought I was going to hit her because it was just like quick. She just starts pulling over. I laid it on so like hard and aggressively that she started driving again. But it's just
I
this
love that.
you have to understand in this area, it was literally one of the most dangerous and dumbest places you could possibly pull over because there's not really like a side area. Like there's not like anywhere. Like you would literally stop traffic and people are going, 100 kilometers on this road, which is like
Mhm.
63 miles per hour for anyone wondering. And so I don't know, like there's no like, oh, someone's going, faster than you in the left lane. Let me get over real quick and let them pass and get back
No.
over. Like there's nothing like that. There's so much lack of common sense. And then there's this like entitlement, this aggressive entitlement
Hmm.
that it's like their time and their being first ahead of you is like worth your life and theirs. It's like the most bizarre, like honestly, it makes my head kind of spin. Like I used to get really upset about it. And at this point, I realize like I'm gonna be mad every single day if I let this
Yeah.
affect me because it happens daily. I mean, I'm not kidding you, daily. I see at least one dumb thing, at least. I've lived here 2 years in September. So you guys do the math.
So I will say I tried to give a lot of grace with driving when we first moved here because
They're so
I was of the
awesome.
mindset where people just suck at driving. Self-driving cars are going to save so many lives, was my
Here they will.
mindset. Because living in Florida, which was where I grew up, born and raised, people still sucked driving there. We were in San Antonio before we came here, and the drivers in San Antonio were freaking horrendous. And that
Hey,
was
pause
awful
it
too.
real quick. You're like,
So we were in San Antonio before this, and the drivers there were freaking horrendous. And that was my standard. So when people said the drivers in South Korea were awful, I was just of the mindset that people just can't drive. But I will say distinct differences I have noticed here. Everyone and
mm,
their mother is on their phone.
Mm.
Everyone and their mother is on their phone all the time, from Sally down the street to the delivery boy speeding through our neighborhood with his truck. That's a big thing that drives me up the wall. And a lot of vehicles here, newer vehicles, even have where you can watch something on like the center
mhm.
console where we have maps, the mapping system in a lot of our cars in the States. A lot of the new cars here have it to where you can watch something. Something else
While you're in drive,
yeah, like
who
the passenger,
okayed that? That is
dude.
ridiculous.
I don't know.
Like,
And I
we
know
can't
that because
thin an already thinning population. Like, what is happening right now?
I know. I know that because our car guy, John Lim, which if you need a car guy in South Korea, he's the best. John Lim, Gorilla Motors, love him. He told us that. So another thing that I noticed is what you said, except the reason why a lot of people stop in the middle of the road or try to stop on the side of the road is there is so
Mm,
much cigarette smoking here. That is just a thing that they culturally
yeah.
just do. And what will happen is they pull over on the side of the road to smoke a cig, pull over, hop out of
Like,
their
have
car
some
and sit there and
self-control.
smoke a cig.
Goodness
We
gracious.
saw that we were
Seriously.
in a tunnel on the way to Seoul, and there was so much traffic. And I just didn't understand where the traffic was coming from. And I figured it out when we got past this guy who pulled over in the tunnel to get out of his car and was walking, smoking a cig. And after we passed his car, everyone was speeding up, and I just looked and was, are you kidding me right now?
That's some
So those
selfish
are,
crap. That's so selfish. And that's, to me, that's what it boils down to is like this selfishness. It's like, "Oh, I'm going to get ahead of you, even if it means that you slam into your brakes on, or like, I'm going to pull over to smoke a cigarette, or
mhm.
I'm going to like, or I've seen like ladies driving who are like this close to the steering wheel, but like look like the lights are on but nobody's home, and I'm like, how are you operating? And this goes for any culture anywhere. If the lights are on and nobody's home, you don't have a business having a driver's license, period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just don't need to
Well,
be behind the wheel of a car. Like, and that seems to be common sense to me. And that's really, again, what it trickles back down to for me
mm-hmm.
is just this like innate lack of common sense. And I hate to say that because like it just seems like it can't be so. Because like, how can you overgeneralize a population? But when I've seen it daily, literally daily, for almost 700 and freaking 20 whatever days that we've been here, I
Well,
can't
I also
ignore
have a
that. I can't
theory
ignore
on
it.
that.
When it comes to the driving,
It's,
Okay,
oh,
I
please.
share
don't
your
know,
I'd love to hear
theory.
it.
controversial, I guess.
Yeah, I'd
But
love to hear this.
I I think the lack
That's
of
why we're
like
here. Let's do
social
this.
awareness and common sense a little bit comes from wearing masks all the time. Because you saw the studies that came out after COVID and how these kids that went to school in masks, especially the kids coming up into school, like the younger, like kindergartners, first grade, that kind of thing, they were having issues reading people because you didn't see people's faces. And I think Koreans, like, because of the air quality, have been wearing masks forever, decades. Like, it was just normal. COVID didn't change anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And I really think that
yeah,
there is an issue of just being able to read people, and that translates into a little bit of a lack of social awareness and common sense because they're just kind of missing something. Because I mean, you can't see a very expressive half of someone's face most of the time in Korea. So, and I think that that
wow.
translates to a lot of different
That's super
areas.
insightful, honestly.
So,
You know what? I'm just gonna go with like that's it. And even if it's not it, I can like roll with that to be able to give more grace.
whatever it
And like,
takes.
in like the situations where I want to rip my hair out or someone else's on certain points, I only get real hot about it if like it's like
Mhm.
what feels like a near death experience, which
Yep.
unfortunately I've had several of those since living here. Like, and when my kids are in the car, I'm just like, you're gonna kill me and my children. Like, I just get like real crazy about it, like real mama bear over here. But no, I mean, the mask thing, that makes so much sense. Like, yeah, there is like, and I think it varies
Yeah.
per person how much social awareness you have. But yeah, it shows big
Mhm.
time on the road. It shows big
It
time.
makes sense, which I never thought about, and I can give more grace to, because one thing that will really bug me is how many times when we're out walking, I'm walking with the kids, people are quite literally driving by, slow their car, roll down their window, and will
Oh yeah.
stop and just
Yeah.
stare at me and the kids, and I will look and be like, and they'll
Yeah.
still just, and I know we are the foreigners here, so we are the
Yeah,
oddballs out. But
sure.
when I blatantly am
Yeah.
like, no, thank you, and there's no awareness of I'm asking, go, like, go along. That makes a lot of sense when you say the mask thing, because when that is something that's so you are just grown up with. I remember explicitly when I was working in the hospital and I got really lax with my facial expressions with patients in the
Yeah.
rooms because I was covered. All you could see were my eyes. So if I made a face about something, you didn't know. And I had to consciously
That
retrain
is so
myself
interesting.
afterwards to be aware.
Yeah.
So I personally experienced that, not at the extreme of having done it my whole life, but I went into nursing 19. So
Wow.
it was
Right on the
almost right
cusp of
at a
COVID.
year
Yeah.
that we had to start wearing masks. And I didn't stop wearing a mask until, well, I want to say the end of 2022, right before Declan was
Mm.
born, but it may have been after I got back to work after maternity leave. So it may have been
Wow.
2023 that I actually got to stop wearing a mask. So it was that long, and I suffered from that. So that would make so much sense of
Well, yeah, if
a
you're learning it
cultural
from
difference.
childhood,
Yeah.
because I mean, you see
Yeah.
like 2-year-olds walking around with masks on. It's
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
and up. And so
Yeah.
it's like really that would make, because from like this innate, like this time where you're supposed to be learning all these things, like you're not learning them. And so who's going to
Hmm.
teach you if
Yeah.
there's no example of it? And
Hmm.
then, everyone else just has to suffer for your decisions. But I guess that's probably why it sucks the life out of us as foreigners, because we're just like, hello, what the heck? But I think it probably
Yeah.
doesn't really bother a lot
Hmm.
of, I won't say like even, it probably doesn't bother some other Koreans because they're the same way. I have talked to some Korean friends who are like, oh yeah, I hate the drivers around here and like stuff like that. So it's not all Koreans who are like
Mhm.
aloof to all of this going on,
Hmm.
but it is just
It's enough of a
just feels
majority
like an
that it makes a
epidemic
huge difference.
of
Hmm.
like,
Yes.
well, I feel like I've
DC.
driven in some really crazy places, and this is by far just that. Oh yeah,
Ugh.
DC,
Yeah.
absolutely. The melting pot that is DC. Southern Italy, I think David and I lost like 5 years off our life driving there. But
Yeah.
it wasn't like from lack of like awareness. That's like a whole nother situation.
That's
But no,
yeah.
this is just, it's something else. It's very Korea specific and
Yeah.
it's very much a con.
So I'll say for me, talking about being a foreigner, segueing into cultural frustrations or differences, which I want you guys to think about something that's a con of a cultural frustration or difference for you. For us, being a foreigner, something that has been really hard for us has been navigating the legal system.
Mm.
So for listeners who don't know, my 2-year-old was hit by a car, speaking of bad drivers, in our neighborhood, who was speeding through our neighborhood. He's okay now. For those of you guys who don't know us, he has physical scarring and we'll need some stuff later, but he's a typical happy 2-year-old. Maybe one day I'll get into more of the details of that. But because of that, we've had to navigate the legal system because he was hit. We live off post. He was hit by a Korean national. And being a foreigner navigating their legal system has been the most frustrating experience of our entire lives. Because here are some distinct differences. Number one, when it comes to driving here, they operate off of black boxes on their cars. Almost everyone has it on their car that is constantly recording. So when Declan got hit, there was no investigation. They just watched the footage on this lady's car who hit him. So if we were to end up in a civil suit, that is not the government's property, that's hers. And she would have to give us permission to
What?
use her footage of documenting what exactly
No.
happened. I don't know if I told you guys that.
No.
Yeah. So then because they didn't do an investigation, we would be going off of the grounds of he said, she said. So
What do you
that's
mean
like
he
Yeah.
said, she said, look at your son? I'm sorry, I'm about to get heated. I'm about to
correct.
get real
But
heated.
who's at fault? Who's at fault is what the civil court's going to say, right? Because you're
Mhm.
basically saying, I'm suing you because of the damage that you've done to my kid because of your negligence and our family and what we had to go through. But you have to document, how do you know she was at fault? How do you know that she caused this for it to hold up in court, right? You guys
How is
know
this
because you
not a
guys saw.
criminal
But
situation? Is it not
so
criminal?
that's another frustration. So that's another frustration. Korean law, I think somebody does not go on your record. You do not get fined unless you break they have like 12 driving laws.
This is why there's an issue.
Driving drunk, documented on your phone, one of those 12 things. So
Mhm.
you have to break one of those 12 laws. And if you hit somebody,
What
but you
about
did not break
speeding?
one of those laws, and the person technically, per her camera or whatever documentation they had, they claimed she wasn't. They claimed she was going 30 kilometers per hour, which is what,
Yeah. It's a
20
school
miles per
zone
hour,
in
maybe?
Korea.
And this is a whole
Mhm.
nother tangent, but I can't tell you how many times I've brake checked in my car going 30 kilometers per hour and immediately stopping. But she dragged him 6 feet. Anywho, you have to break one of the laws, and or the person you hit has to die, become paralyzed, or be in the hospital for more than 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. It's 2 weeks for a minor, 3 weeks for an adult, for anything to go on your record, period. It's criminal if they're paralyzed or you kill them. It will go on their record if they're in the hospital for minors 2 weeks, adults 3 weeks. So
So it'll be on
technically per
her
Korean,
record.
no, because we were in the hospital
What, 13
for
days?
Don't say
12
13
or
days,
13
Leah.
days.
Don't say
It
13
was
freaking
12 or
days.
13 days. And the reason why we were only in the hospital for that long was because we fought to get transferred to Hawaii because the hospital here didn't have what we needed, which is another conversation of a con. So because he was in the hospital for less than 2 weeks, he's alive. He wasn't paralyzed and she wasn't breaking one of those rules. It's not on her record and she's not fined.
Also,
Per
can I just
Korean
say
court.
from like experience, like Koreans take care of their own. You're the foreigner and the law will always skew towards them. Like there is no fair,
Yes,
like,
that's one thing
I don't know what you want to call it, like judgment or anything like that.
yeah. So that's one thing I can say with confidence. And I've talked to a lot of people who have said the law always favors the national, never the foreigner, right or wrong. So when it comes to their legal system, something else that's frustrating in the States, we're super litigation happy. Everybody gets sued for everything, regardless of wrongdoing. But thankfully, insurances are in place. Insurances usually will do those payouts. Here, the insurance is supposedly going to do some type of a settlement with us because of the care. But the standard that they settle on, one, it's going to be Korean won, not USD, even though that's where we will get the rest of our care. Two, the way they settle is, I kid you not, this is from our Korean lawyer's mouth. They take the measurements of all the visible wounds on my
Stop right
child's
now.
body.
Stop right now.
They calculate how much of his total visible body that is. And then whatever percent that is goes into the average Korean salary from now to retirement. And that's how much they would settle. So if his wound is only 1% of his body, they would settle 1% of what the average Korean would make from age 18 to 65 or whatever their retirement is, because it is a very, for lack of better words, vain
100%.
society. They care a lot about appearance.
Mhm.
So if you have physical maiming that people can see, you won't get hired at certain places. So it would affect your job in a certain way. So that's how they would settle, how they would decide what to settle with us for, which would average about like 10 to 20 million won, which is probably $8,000 to
nothing in
$15,000 or
America.
something like that. Nothing compared to how much his microtia repair is going to cost when he's 6 to 10. But that's how they do it. And that's how their legal system works. Another frustration with their legal system is when there are criminal cases here. So let's say she was criminal, whatever. A lot of times you can buy your way out of criminal charges. So you would you would agree on a certain settlement or settled amount. And then if that's agreed on between the offender and the victim, there would be no criminal charges on the record.
This is just getting better and better.
I know. So for me, a big con has been their legal system here is so different than ours. And it is so hard to navigate with the being a foreigner it's the way everything is done is so different. And then for me, my thing would be kind of what Alyssa said. You don't know what you don't know, but it would be one thing I would take into consideration because, yeah, what are the odds something happens to you? But with the amount of stress and frustration we've gone through having to navigate all of this for our family, to me, it's not worth it. I know God ordained us being here and everything happened for a reason. So if I went back, if you asked me if I could go back and do it again, sometimes I want to say yes, but I also know God has a reason for everything. But for somebody, maybe the reason is for somebody else, me to tell you to take it into serious consideration and or fight to live on post and be very, very careful when you're driving or doing anything off post because of the legal differences in navigating that system here. as a foreigner
Well,
is
and correct me if
so
I'm wrong, Leah, but
freaking
you
hard.
received less than any support from the military systems that are supposed to be in place to support us there too.
Yeah, we received no support. Yeah, that's another con. The base here is as big as it is, but we received no military support outside of healthcare. JAG wouldn't help us. TRICARE, when I was asking for help getting questions answered, couldn't help us. Travis had to run around. He had to find a Korean lawyer on his own. He had to literally use AI to try to figure out what we needed to do next on top of taking care of D and working and us doing this. Yeah, we had to figure it out all on our own. He went into JAG and they told us because he's Navy and we're stationed at a military or at
It's
an Army base, they
absurd.
couldn't help us. That you'd have to talk to the Navy JAG in Japan, which that's
What
not
is
Korea.
Japan gonna do? Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. On behalf of the Army, that I'm embarrassed. I'm
Yeah.
embarrassed about us.
And there was a lot that happened that wasn't okay. And having reached out to multiple people, there was no support at all. And so that's another thing. If you end up in one of those situations, unless you are, I don't even want to say unless you're active duty, because I know that there are times that active duty guys get in trouble. And that's what JAG is here for, is to help them navigate their way out. But I guess because it wasn't Trav directly, there was no, like, there was just nothing. There was no help for us. So we've had to figure it out all on our own. So that's like another thing. By the time that they got there, we had to figure out how to get them stuff for the police report, how to go to the police station, how to find a translator, how to get it translated. We had to find a lawyer. We had to figure out, okay, well, do we need a lawyer? Do we not need a lawyer? A lawyer sounds extreme. In the States, you don't necessarily need one because it's insurance to insurance, but we had to figure out all that stuff on our own. So, yeah, that would be another con for me. Most of my big cons are just like, heaven forbid something happened to you, you don't have what you need here to take care of it. Or navigating that here is extremely difficult, because then the next thing you can go into is the healthcare. For the amount of people that are stationed here, there are not the
The
resources that
hospital
you
is
need on
15%
base.
staffed. 1-5,
But there
15.
is, yeah. And like the doctor who took care of Declan was phenomenal. Love him. We'll sing his praises because he was just absolutely above and beyond. But there's a medical strike going on. Hospitals in Korea are different than the States. They can refuse to take care of you if you walk into their ER. Medical strike in Korea at local Korean hospitals. So there's not enough staffing at a lot of the local hospitals, but they
Especially
can
if you're
refuse you
American.
care. Unlike in the States, you walk into ER. So we got refused care the night of Declan's accident by a Korean hospital, and then had to fight the local ambulance to get them to take us to base because they didn't want to. And then we know Korean hospitals would accept us, and the level of Declan's injury, we didn't know if it could be handled at BDAC, which is the local hospital here. But God provided. And the doctor who walked in, he stepped up, stepped in, and totally like took care and did everything he could for Declan. And then we got transferred to Hawaii 48 hours later. But that's another thing to think about, is if you need care more than just having a baby, more than just standard routine appointments. If something happens, Travis has somebody who worked with him but is not military, a civilian contractor who works with him, whose daughter had a brain bleed and almost had to get transferred back to the States because they were at a hospital in Seoul. They were not getting what they needed and didn't know if that would be okay. So almost had to get early return of dependence, which means the family gets sent back to the States for her to get the care she needs while he had to stay here. And so that's just another big con, again, that I would just consider. And it sounds like I hate being bleak because I'm usually look on the bright side, but it happened to me. And I was the person who before this would tell everyone Korea was great. I loved it. Definitely would recommend, especially to avoid deployments, which is why we came here, to avoid deployment. But now I am of the mind where you just need to heavily consider, because if push comes to shove and something
You're kind of screwed.
happens, I don't want you to be in this. I don't the same position we were in and have to walk through it because God showed up and he provided everything. But I don't know what God's will is for every situation and circumstance when it comes to those accidents. So it's just something to consider. Declan is a walking miracle, but not every situation ends up like that.
Right.
Let's do
Yeah.
that's okay. Let's do some
Sorry to
just
just
rapid
monopolize that.
fire.
No.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. So rapid fire, what are some little things that have made, for example, being a mom harder here than back in the
Okay, off the top
States?
of my head, we're too far away from family. So there's the lack of support there. There's a ton of red tape when you have a baby. You have to do a lot to get them US legal, if you will. Like you have to get them their passport right away. You have to get a certificate of birth abroad. There's a ton of stuff like that. You've got, for me, it was big. There's such limited access to more natural products. And that kind of goes into the APO shipping where, my trying to build up my homeopathy collection, I literally bought things when I needed them. So I would hopefully have them for next time. That's how I built that collection because you can't just get something if you need it and who knows what you'll need. So that was
Mhm.
rough. I know a lot of people say Korea is cheap. Yeah.
You have to think in
Yeah.
advance because
I know a
shipping.
lot of people say Korea is cheap. I don't feel that way. Maybe it's because my ingredient standards are a little higher or whatever it is, but I felt like Korea was really expensive for us.
Mm.
Yeah,
I
I'd
would
agree depending
say,
on what it is. Oh, go ahead.
no, you say what, because I think we were probably going to go the same way.
No.
You would
Yeah,
agree
I think
depending on what it is?
it depends on
Like
what it is.
necessities.
I think, for produce and stuff like that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for groceries specifically, I feel like you definitely have to compromise quality of ingredients if you want to get the cheap stuff. And that would be like
Mm.
shopping off post. And that's kind of one of my gripes is I look like I'm an Amazon
Same.
shopaholic because I get so many Amazon boxes delivered every month, but they're all not all, but I'd say 85% of my purchases are my
Groceries.
subscribe and
Yeah.
save, like food and medicines and stuff like that. Yeah, groceries. Because the commissary is either limited on what they have or it's extremely expensive and you can get it cheaper on Amazon. Hello,
Yes.
Annie's mac and cheese. Or it's just not available. And the Korean food is just as gross ingredient wise as American food. It's got all kinds of synthetic
MSG.
preservatives and synthetic flavoring. They're a little more direct about on their labeling. I will say that if you can read Korean, what I've translated. But my biggest gripe about it is their labels are
Hmm.
so micro tiny that half of them don't even translate. So I don't even feel comfortable. Ones I have translated, it's told me enough of what I need to know. The stuff, they're very greenwashing on their products too. They make it seem like it's really healthy. Oh, this oat milk from Denmark and it's in this really organic, whatever looking thing. And then you translate the ingredients on the back and it's texturizer, emulsifier. It's got 9 or 10 ingredients. I'm like, this is supposed to be
Yeah.
oats and water. What is, and salt. What else why is there 10 ingredients in this oat milk? That looks like it's and I think it even said it was organic oat milk or something like that. And so that just really set me off in the beginning of okay, if I can't, it's turned me off from shopping off post
Well,
unless I want
especially
something
coming from
specifically Korean
Germany for you,
or
kind
Yeah.
of
specifically
coming from Germany. Yeah. I will say
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, because they're better. Oh, I was just gonna say Germany and
Yeah.
Europe in general is just better about nixing disgusting ingredients from their stuff, but also they make their
Yeah.
labels where you can read them. You don't need a magnifying glass
I will say
to
one
read
little
it.
pro
So
inside the con
easy
of how
translate.
expensive everything is a lot more people do qualify for WIC in Korea. So WIC is women, infant, and children. If you're
Mm.
pregnant, breastfeeding, even if you're not breastfeeding, if you're formula feeding, and kids up to 5, I think you can get a lot of stuff at the commissary essentially for free. But if you don't qualify for that, it is really expensive. So we didn't qualify.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
would say piggybacking off of that, life that's hard, I have to go to a minimum of 2, if not 3 different places to get groceries, unless I want
Yeah.
to pay commissary prices
Yeah.
for all of my stuff, which would then equate to an absolutely absurd bill for groceries every week. So I have to go to the commissary for some of the American ingredients that I want that I can't get at the local Inmart, or then I have to go to the local Inmart for certain ingredients that I don't want to pay commissary prices for. Then for example, rice, having to buy jasmine rice at the commissary makes no sense. It's so much more expensive. So then I have to go to Inmart if I need that. And then if I don't want to pay Inmart prices for produce, I have to go to the market, which is what I'm doing tomorrow. So it could be 3 different trips depending on what I'm doing. With 2 littles that are home with me, it just ends up to an entire morning of we go from here to here to here to here, loading, unloading. And then we get home, rush to go down for a nap and then unload the car.
Oh, it's
So I think
exhausting.
that's probably one of my biggest mom life cons. I miss HEB. I miss HEB Plus in Texas and going on and being in and out in less than an hour and going home
I just
because I can
miss
get
I'm
it all.
so
drive up.
excited for that.
Drive up to like where I'm excited for
You know,
you. I'm gonna live
supposedly you can do that
Yeah,
at
vicariously
the
but
through you.
then you're paying
commissary.
a bajillion dollars. So
Yeah, but like half their stuff, well, even if cost wasn't an issue,
yeah,
they hardly ever have their stock like truly
Okay.
updated on their website. Like I used to do tons of commissary pickup when we lived in Arizona, and then a little bit, they had just started it when we lived in Germany. So I did it a couple of times in Germany, but I didn't really shop too much on post, like at the commissary there, because off post had pretty much everything I needed. But I did it a ton in Arizona, and their commissary pickup was
love
like
to hear that.
so good, because certain things like it should be, certain things at the commissary were like so much cheaper. Like, you know, my kids, I do dairy free when I can. Like they had like the organic coconut yogurt. It was like $5. It's like $9 at Fry's, you know, versus like the $5 at the commissary. So I love how you can totally maximize your grocery savings and just like get in one car ride, not even have to get the kids out and just go like a little loop. Go pick, like rack and stack those
Talk
pickup
dirty to
times. Like
me.
Yeah. So
Talk
let's be
dirty
very
to me.
clear. Let's be very clear that the
I would love
commissary,
that.
despite all their banners saying so, and the PX2 are not here to support us. They're here to take our money. But on that note, the PX, yeah, the PX is
100%
also
overseas. That's
extremely
so
expensive,
scary.
but you can at least price match to Amazon. And I think Target, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah. And
And
you
Walmart,
very
I'm pretty
much
sure.
The main
should
ones.
price match to them
Walmart,
because
Target,
I think
Amazon.
I went and got like one of those like exercise, like, sweat wrap thingies, and it was $30. It was
I
$30 at
did
the
that
PX
same
and less
thing.
than 15 on Amazon.
Yep.
And that's just normal. Yeah, you should
Yep.
literally never
Shut
buy
the
something at a
front
PX
door.
without price checking it.
Yeah,
I've never
especially
price checked.
like I bought a wallet recently, a Vera Bradley wallet. It wasn't that much cheaper. It's not my best price match I've ever done there, but it was like $10 off. Books are literally half price on Amazon, and they price match them. I bought like my dad a book and David a book. Like I was buying, like it was the same day I bought that wrap. I think the lady at the checkout was probably like, "Oh my gosh." I think I got like $75 off because of like all of the price matching I did. I was like, here's another price match, here's another price match. They're really good about it. At least the people I've run into, they're not like the post office people who just, can't imagine that you could possibly send APO to APO for free. They just want their justice for some reason, even
Why
though
do they
they're
even
Korean and
care?
work on an American post office. I
Okay,
don't know.
that's another big
I really
con
don't.
though.
I've got beef with the post office people.
All the jobs go to Korean nationals. The vast majority of the jobs go to Korean nationals. So as a spouse, if you're considering
Yeah.
coming and you really want to work, good luck, or start your own business. And even then, if you live off post, there's loopholes you have to work through to be able to
You
have your own
can't.
business because of our agreements, the SOFA status, and all of those kinds of things. However, I will say as an encouragement, if like you're already coming, you can't do anything about it, you can live on one income. You really can, especially with the elevated WIC eligibility. It feels like you can live on one income, and it's so good for your kids to be home with them. So you can do it. But yeah, don't expect to have a job.
Well, I would say piggybacking off of that is a pro to make people feel better. Because I know the reason why Travis was explaining this to me, the reason why most of the jobs go to
Yeah.
nationals is it's something with an agreement. Just like the government of Korea has to spend so much money maintaining our base every year. Part of the agreement is then we have to hire so many jobs out to nationals to help them. But another pro is, I don't know if we mentioned this in the pro episode, but to make you feel better about it, is if you still wanted to do childcare here,
Yeah.
if you get your ARC card, you get a pretty good discount, and it is nowhere near the prices that it is in the States. I
Mm.
think without an art card for Declan to go, it would have been $300 a month. With an art card, it would have been, some places are free, depends on the city, province, whatever. Some places it's cheaper than that. Versus in the States, he went part-time and it was 900 a month part-time.
Mm.
So I would say to make you feel better, like Alyssa said, you can live on one income with that.
Okay, how about
Yeah,
yeah.
just to make you feel
I'd say
better.
arguably, oh, I was just gonna say arguably if you live off post, it's even more comfortable because especially if you're really smart about finding your house and making sure that like you can get like good like city gas or solar and or and would be
Mm,
preferable, then you can because when you live overseas and you live off installation you get overseas housing allowance and then you get a
yeah.
utility allowance. It's the same amount every single month no matter how much your utilities are. OHA, which is overseas housing allowance, is only whatever your rent is. You don't It's not like BAH in the States where you pocket the
Yep.
difference. But your utility allowance, you get that same amount, it's like 700 something dollars every single month, no matter what, whether your utilities are $5 or 900, you get the same amount. And
Yep.
we have never one time gone over our utilities. Like, we're pocketing a lot of money from that because of our, and we're pretty conservative. We're like turn our AC units like on and off, on and off, on and off. Like we keep our floor heat
Mhm.
low in the winter. Like I feel like we're not like we're kind of more frugal about it, I guess.
Mhm.
Um but yeah, just to add a little bit more to the con, try to sweeten up the cons episode a little
Yeah,
bit.
I know. It's
It
real.
is,
And the cons,
Yeah.
people need, like, we want you to know and we want to be
yeah,
honest. That's the whole reason we're
for
here.
sure.
But it also just feel bad.
Like
Just,
compliment sandwich, like,
yeah, I love
like
it.
it's
Let's
not that
compliment sandwich.
bad. Like you get WIC, you can't work, so don't even think about it. But you could save some money if
So
you live
yeah,
off
I
post.
would
It's fine.
say
So
oh
I
yeah,
know
well, I would
Alyssa
say
has to
one more
run.
big thing that we didn't mention, that will also be controversial, is the racism. A lot of people really like us,
Ooh,
especially
that's a
I have
big one.
never once had an issue when I have been with my children. Never once. But when I have not been with my children, and just for the record,
Mm.
like I'm not like I don't go out and get drunk. I'm not belligerent. Like I'm not like having these situations on me. Like, okay, I have been kicked off
Don't let her
buses
fool you.
multiple times. I've been refused access to buses. I've been refused service at restaurants, just like, karaoke places. Yep.
We went karaoke
Yep.
that one night and we
Yep.
walked in.
Oh
They
yeah,
said
she
no
was just
Yeah,
like,
foreigners. And I was
they
like,
and
no
I
foreigners. Yep.
know we're in a place where soldiers can suck, but like that's kind of the whole point of racism, right? You're not supposed to
To
judge
put it
someone
plainly.
based on some other experience you had with someone who looks like them. Like, so yeah, I never had an issue with my kids. I would assume because kids are more, well, they don't have any here or there. Um, so they're more
Right here.
valued, but as if I've been like an
Mm.
adult on my own, I have been refused. And the first time it happened, my friend and I were taking the bus in Seoul, and we
mm,
like, I mean, we'll be real, we were two white girls and had never experienced racism a day in our lives. Okay, like I can say that, I know it. And the guy driving the bus kept telling us to get off. And we were like, no, 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 it's not our stop. And then he kicked everyone off the bus. He stopped and he made everyone get off the bus. And we were like, this is weird. Maybe the bus was just like, out of service. But it wasn't. Like, it didn't say anything like that. Then we try and get on another bus at that stop. And the bus driver's like, no, no, no. So we're like, okay, well, maybe we're getting on the wrong bus and he's just trying to help us. And then we sat there and we were like, he doesn't know where we're going. Like, what?
The
And it
ignorance.
happened multiple other times where they would not allow us on the bus or we were told to get off the bus. And it's
That's so
just, yeah, I was like, we were like, no freaking way. But we were so clueless until it clicked. And so then we had to take the subway everywhere, which was not very convenient for what we were doing. And it was raining. Like it was raining. Okay. It was not like a nice sunny day where like we could have just walked. It was pouring rain. We did not have umbrellas. Like they would not allow us. Yeah. So there you have it.
It's been incredibly humbling, I have to admit. It has been incredibly humbling
Mhm.
to be the minority and to have experienced like racism and discrimination without you knowing me, with you just looking at me. And it's been incredibly eye-opening. I will say that's one way where I'm gonna have I'm gonna have grown freaking so much in Korea because of all of the crap we've endured. But that's one way where my entire perspective and how I handle myself and just awareness has gonna have grown, because you don't even realize it sometimes. And having been on the other end of it is just, yeah, that's humbling, because it's awful and it sucks. It sucks being, you don't know me. What do you mean? Just because I look like this, you're not gonna serve me and you're gonna kick me out of the karaoke bar when I'm just trying to have a good time with my friends.
I will say for me, it's been a little bit like different, because this is our second Oconus. And so in Germany, we were able to blend pretty well as far as looks. But, and then as we grew in our language skills, we even got to the point where we could kind of blend a little bit in like, some restaurant atmospheres in Germany and stuff. So we were feeling pretty good about ourselves. Like, oh, we can like really assimilate into the culture. And I think that's been really hard for me personally, because I love to experience other cultures. Like it was like the number one reason we wanted to come here was to experience Korea, meet Koreans, eat Korean food, like do the Korean thing. And then we wanted to go do it in other countries and I mean, I I love the world so far, and even the good and the bad. I've just really enjoyed seeing how other people live. And so it was like really, I didn't anticipate how difficult it was going to be coming here. And there is no assimilating into the culture here,
Mm-hmm.
because you literally can't, because you're not Asian. Even if you spoke perfect Korean, you're going to immediately be
To be quite honest,
dismissed
even if you're
because
not
you
the
don't look
right
Korean.
Asian,
And
if
I
you are
think,
not Korean, like,
oh, that's
yeah.
Yeah.
so yeah, exactly. Well, and something I want to highlight is that, and this is really controversial, and this is going to be hot button for some people, and I'm sorry, but some people in America think that like
hmm
racism only occurs there, and it's
Mm-hmm.
For
it's
sure.
worldwide. It is absolutely worldwide. There is like northern Italians look down on southern Italians. Same with northern Indians and southern Indians. And so like there's so much racism in the world that I just feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's been, obviously not comfortable and really eye-opening in kind of a bad way. But like what you said, Leah, like it's been really like a growth experience. And
Yeah.
I don't know, living overseas in general, I feel like is a really big growth experience. Like you get outside of, America, just like you're like real zoned in, you're like bleeding red, white, and blue. And then you get outside of America and you're like, we are not the only thing in this world. And it just like
Yeah.
really like it zooms out your perspective, and you're just like, wow, all these like big things don't matter as much as I thought they did. And you just get this like very different perspective of the world. And so I would say that despite all of the cons that are here, that I'll be very happy to leave behind when the day comes. I will be a better person for it, I think.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss. That was so beautifully said.
Thank you.
I love it. So
Just
with
truth.
that, because we can't top it, let's do our
I'm good.
Momtroversial moment where we share parenting stories that make us laugh, cry, or just say, yep, that's mom life. And we'll share those. Alyssa,
Gosh,
Momtroversial moment.
so I'm jet lagged and my brain isn't working. But the first thing that I can think of is yesterday or maybe the day before. Reagan asked me, "So when are we going back to Korea?" And I was like, "Never, literally never, ever." And she was like, "Okay," and just kind of moved on. But I was like, let me be very clear with you. We are never ever going back to Korea. So I think she is kind of starting to understand like the move aspect. Although on the other hand, we pulled in to the house we're staying in last night, and KK says, "We're home." I was like, what a military child. I'm in a new house and it's already home. It's been 2 days. Yeah.
Good for
I
her.
love her.
She's such a mom.
Tori?
I already told Leah my controversial moment. I always put my hair up for bed. I either braid it back or like whatever, long hair people problems. Well, I was putting it in a bun last night and I got my little like soft scrunchie out, and halfway through putting it on, I realized it's wet. And I was like, that's gross because it's not near a sink or anything like that. So I take it off and I realize that it's toothpaste, kid toothpaste to be exact. Kid toothpaste that Johnny, my lovely little Johnny, somehow squirted all over my vanity area. That is nowhere near a sink. So really shouldn't have been toothpaste at all anywhere over there. So now I have toothpaste in my hair. I was brushing my hair earlier and I was like, oh, there's still toothpaste in it. So yeah, I've got toothpaste hair. Thanks, Johnny. I love you, buddy. But dang, just the things I never thought I would say as a mom. Like I got kid toothpaste in my hair. Yep.
Again, dude, I would say for us, Declan, we've been going through it with D the past couple days, but he had a really sweet moment when we were checking into the hotel in Dragon Hill this weekend. There were two beds for him, one for Ella, little cribs they gave us. And so I was setting up the room and trying to orchestrate like the two cribs. So I said, you know what, Declan, I'm gonna let you choose where you want your crib to be. I can let him select in the room where he wanted to sleep. And he said, I want to sleep next to Sissy. And so he moved his little crib next to where I had Ella's set up. And the entire time, he just wanted to be like his bed right next to her to see her, and crawled in his, and she was in crawled in his, and she was in hers. And they were like playing, and that just made my heart. So I love watching them interact together and just love each other already at such a young age and want to be together.
Love it.
Mom swoon.
I know. I was like, no.
That's so precious.
So, oh, I freaking love them. So, if you guys had an unspoken truth that you wish you would have known, or a mom hack or a secret that nobody has shared with you, we would love for you guys to hit us up on Instagram at Momtroversial Podcast. Thank you so much for unpacking the wild life of living in South Korea and bearing with us through some of the cons. Until next time, stay real, stay curious, and join us next week for some more bold mom talk. Until then, keep it
Bye.
Momtroversial. Bye.